Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones. With Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.
Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans. Tell us a little bit more about it.
So The Fabelmans is inspired by Spielberg's own childhood, which he co-wrote this movie with Tony Kushner, who he also worked on for Munich, Lincoln, and his most recent West Side Story. And he based it off his childhood growing up in California and Arizona, his love of film, how filmmaking brought so much wonder to his youth and his coming of age, and his parents' relationship, his sisters, etc.
And also something that's really important, I feel, about this movie, that it's a movie that's really timely, just kind of like Knives Out was, that it really touches on anti-Semitism, which is on a terrible rise right now, like all over the world, and he touches on like the more nuanced aspects of it, like in high schools in the 70s or 80s, 60s,
Yeah,
in the 60s, and like it's really important. And like, I don't know about you, but I've heard shit like that before, like in high school. So like it particularly impacted me in that way.
It does it very upfront.
Yeah.
And like it knows you're about to get uncomfortable, and it goes for it anyway to show the truth of it. And I appreciated that.
Also, I had a similar situation with a Christian girl. I am not gonna mention names. that Sammy has in this movie.
Oh no.
We'll move on.
Oh my god.
We'll move on.
That, by the way, we're talking about funny stuff. This is a very dramatic movie, but this whole scene,
it has some really
so
funny moments. Yeah, like and just I really love this movie and how it unapologetically like explains how much you should love movies and how much making movies is important, and I love that too. Do you want to talk about the cast a little bit?
Michelle Williams, possibly my favorite performance of the year when it comes to movies. I would give her the Oscar right now. I don't know if she's lead or supporting, but I thought she was just phenomenal.
I think should be lead, no?
They're putting her in lead. I think she was originally supporting, but now they're putting her in lead. She's just fantastic, and she shows like all the messy sides of the character. But it feels like as a writer and as a filmmaker, Spielberg's never like judging his mother. Like he's showing her in this way where you can still empathize with her shortcomings. Paul Dano is terrific as his dad. And this is some of the best acting we've seen from him. And if you haven't seen Love and Mercy or There Will Be Blood, I think those are his two best roles so far. And of course, I mean, a great role he had earlier this year as a psychopath murderer in Gotham City.
Yeah, and he's so lovable here. That's very strange because the last thing I saw him in was bashing people's heads in with a...
Yeah. He's just wonderful. Seth Rogen, I think this is also his best performance. Like
he's so nuanced. I was impressed.
He's incredibly subtle. Like you've seen him a little bit dramatic here and there, like in Steve Jobs, for example, which I loved him in.
Yeah.
But I just feel like the subtlety that he gave here and the heart that he's always having, I just love that so much. And Judd Hirsch also like shows up for a little bit, and he's really memorable. There are people saying that he might get nominated just for those scenes alone. Do you see that happening?
Who?
Judd Hirsch.
Oh, yeah. Like, for supporting, I don't know. I think that's a bit of a stretch because it's such a small part.
Yeah, that's what I said at first. I think Paul Dano is a better chance, but just because, like...
I think Paul Dano is getting in.
I really... Like, he better. I think it's a good chance.
If we had, like the Emmys, that they have, like, that category for, like... special guest star or something like that. That is something
Judd Hirsch wins.
Yeah, he could win in that, but we don't have that in the Oscars, so
yeah. But maybe it's happened where like someone shows up for a small role. Yeah. And then Gabriel LaBelle as Sammy Fabelman. He's tasked with so much. He's supposed to be like the young Spielberg, but also like the young kid in all of us, especially us. We know that we love going out there and shooting stuff. We love watching movies and editing and whatnot. And of course, we're both Jewish. So I think we saw a lot of ourselves in this guy.
Yeah, 100%. Like the joke about like Hanukkah versus Christmas, that really got me. Especially because I think, as well as for you, we both grew up in very Christian countries. So like the whole streets were always like full of like Christmas decorations.
Yeah, I think
like we didn't even do Hanukkah stuff, so like it was very depressing.
Because like my family would make it important to celebrate Hanukkah even when we lived back in the U.S. But I was always like, A, why are there no Hanukkah celebrations? But B, why are we celebrating Hanukkah 8 times and not going out and doing Christmassy stuff?
Yeah.
So it's always nice to see nods to that in movies. But yeah, did you think that like his performance like was up to the task?
Yeah, for sure. Like he's a I don't know if he's been in anything before, but
check.
He was great. And like if this is his first role, goddamn.
He's Canadian American.
Well, that's interesting.
He was in Predator? No, he wasn't. Why does that say that? He was in The Predator. I'm sorry. He was in The Predator as I'm not sure what. He was also in Max 2, which I didn't know there was ever a second one, and in the miniseries Brand New Cherry Flavor.
Okay.
So
this is his first big thing.
This is his breakout, and I can see him going places here.
Same.
He's lovely in this.
Do you think he might get into Best Actor? Like sneak in there?
Ooh. Personally, I'm all for it, but realistically,
I don't think it's happening. But again, I'm all for it.
I don't think Best Actor is that crowded this year. Looking at it now, so maybe there's a chance for like an underdog thing. But
it's rare with guys that young to get into Best Actor.
Exactly. Like even Rachel Zegler for West Side Story last year.
No,
or
but
people who were talked about like Amelia Jones and Coda. Like,
but that's women. A lot of ingenues get it. Like
oh right, because there was like Jennifer Lawrence and Winter's Bone.
Like Hollywood loves young girls, as creepy as that is, but the young men usually don't get the same awards love.
Yeah, for guys it barely happens. Even like if you've seen Room, I think there was a lot of Oscar buzz around Jacob Tremblay, and he didn't get in.
Freaking Haley Steinfeld won at like 12.
Was nominated, didn't win.
Oh, she didn't win. Yeah, but she was nominated at like 12.
Yeah.
So
and so I think the youngest ever for supporting actor is Timothy Hutton in the movie Ordinary People, which I haven't seen, but it's also like coming of age movie. And I think he was 21 when he won, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, he won.
Okay, he was 20 when he won the Oscar for supporting actor for Ordinary People.
Yeah, and we had 80-year-old girls. So, like, that's the difference.
So Gabriel LaBelle's 20. I don't know. Julia Butters, by the way, as his sister, was really good.
Yeah.
I can never, like,
but she's been good in other stuff before, right?
I think after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, her one scene, she's just guaranteed. And The Gray Man she was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I love this movie. Everything about it was just, I think, perfect. The way it looked, the production design, I think it's like, it takes a backdrop. Like, it's not too showy, but it's also just so gorgeous. And Spielberg has this way of even like making like a high school locker hallway or like
look like this magical.
This looks
place.
like a fairy tale. Yeah. And or the script manages to tell entire stories about characters only by their actions, not even referencing like stuff that's happened to them, like a scene with a bully that like really hits hard.
Yeah.
Or the scenes
and
where
the joke is really good in the end of that one.
Yeah, that got a little bit of applause actually. That joke. Or like, especially the scenes where he's filming and making movies, where he does something with a train, or he's editing, and the way the camera moves, and just pictures film as this magical thing that it was to him.
Yeah.
I just love it so much.
I think that for us specifically, like that's where we had the most connection to the movie.
Yeah.
Like making movies, basically. And that is the one thing that I want to nitpick about this movie. I feel like it should have had a little bit more of that.
A little bit more of what?
Of him making movies.
Oh, I didn't feel like it was lacking. I don't know. I have to watch it again.
I felt like
I will watch it again.
I just watched it like 2 days ago, and I feel like maybe one more sequence of him shooting like another production when he was older, like maybe his first production in Hollywood or something like that. I feel like I was missing that one, like that one Hollywood thing from him. Like I wanted to see how he handled that, like the first time that he was in the big one. That's the one thing I was missing.
Okay. Well, I felt like there was a lot of him going around with a camera, and the ending scene is really, really memorable.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, great cameo.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say. And it's just a
very
wonderful
unexpected
scene. Yeah. And the character that the person is playing.
Yeah.
That's just wonderful. But yeah, I don't really have much.
And the whole scene, what he says, their conversation, it's fantastic.
For sure. There's a part where it's like where his mom is like dancing at the campsite. It's about 30 minutes in, and I think that's when I knew this movie's a masterpiece. That's all I'm gonna say.
For sure. Again, that's the only thing that keeps me from calling it a masterpiece. I feel like if it had that, it would have
like to the end or sprinkled out of like you mean like him going to Hollywood.
Either or. If you had a little bit more sprinkled in for from the movie making perspective, or if you had like his big break in Hollywood, that would have made a difference for me.
Okay.
If not, because it doesn't have that, 9.5 out of 10. If it had that, it would have been a 10 out of 10.
But just for reference, the movie's already 2 hours and 31 minutes.
I would have stayed there for another half an hour. I don't care.
You think it was paced well?
Yeah, it was paced pretty well.
I think it went by really well. For me,
like if you had another sequence for 10, 15 minutes, it would have been fine.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to say it. This movie's a 10 out of 10. It's my favorite of the year right now, and I can see it staying that way. And I guess for now, it's my second Spielberg movie in a row that I've given a perfect score and is my number one of the year.
Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones with Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.